Well, 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 peace and Black Power family. This is Jade Arundel. We have our sister Chanel Walker, and we also have our sister Candace Hodges. These are our queens. Welcome to the Queens Roundtable. We have some things that we need to discuss tonight because I don't know if y'all seen what I seen, if y'all heard what I heard, but there's some things going around the internet that I am personally concerned about. I'm interested to hear about what you all have to say as you're coming into the Queen's Roundtable. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Welcome to FlyNubianQueen.com, the network for melanated women and men like you. Queen Candace and Queen Madam President, how y'all doing tonight?
Well,
I am well. Excellent. Excellent, Jade.
yeah, well and wonderful.
Well and wonderful. We haven't seen Queen Candace in a round table in a minute. So y'all already know we are excited to have our queen here with us tonight. This is a much needed conversation, and I'm looking forward to building with you all on this topic because I know that there are opportunities to elevate the conversation and to think about things, all things pertaining to Black people and especially Black women from different angles. Now, listen, folks who are coming in, make sure you hit the like button, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Okay, so I'm gonna take the smile off now. Look, I saw some things trending about Suki Hana on the internet, and I was like, why is this woman's name keep trending? And so to my utter disgust, I Googled it and found out and saw some things that I didn't want to see. Before we continue, let me know in the chat, let us know in the chat, did you see Suki Hana's leaked, or maybe if you pay for it, if that's what you're into, OnlyFans situation with her fiance? Let me know in the chat if y'all have seen that. And as you're typing that in, be sure to text the word Queens to 31996. That's Queens with an S to 31996. Okay, before I share any article or anything like that, I do want to let you all know, I'm just going to briefly describe this, but I want to give you a warning. So if you have children, if you're under the age of, I would say 18, shoot, if you're under the age of 21, this conversation may not be appropriate for you. So, you know, families, parents, if you have children in the room, we'll give you a minute to kind of get them out or mute this or, you know, change the channel. And as you're doing that, you're figuring that out, we want to invite you to visit our shop at shopfnq.com. That's shopfnq.com. Also, be sure to text the word Queens to 31996. That's Queens with an S to 31996. Check out our programming at flynubianbusiness.com and flynubianmoney.com. All right, now I'm going to describe it in one sentence. Basically, Suki Hana is a Black woman. She's from Delaware. She lives in Miami. She was on, I think, was it Love and Hip Hop Miami? She has an OnlyFans page. She was recently in a Cardi B video and was also did an interview that was promoted by Apple Music, okay, in which she was talking about what we would call thought culture. But, you know, she was in that Cardi B WAP video, and since then she's gotten a lot more attention on the internet, right? So the latest controversy is that she did an OnlyFans video with her fiance, who is also a Black man. And in that OnlyFans video, she was performing fellatio on him. And in the process of her doing so, as I read, because I didn't see it myself, I don't want to see it, but as she was giving him fellatio, she actually vomited on him. She paused, kind of cleaned herself up out here, and then finished off. And then they had like this long conversation after the fact. Now, this quote unquote broke the internet, and she's been getting a lot of attention and a lot of praise for this. And since then, she has done Instagram live videos where, again, she is shaming what she's calling self-respecting people or self-respecting women. She calls us, you know, or them, I'm not a hoe, but she says, y'all self-respecting hoes, y'all, how y'all hoes gonna have self-respect if you out here and you're having sex and performing these sexual acts with men without getting any sort of compensation in return? So that's what we're going to talk about today. So let's welcome our queens, Queen Candace, aka Color Shines, and Queen Madam President, into the Queens Roundtable. How y'all doing tonight?
Oh, excellent. Thank you so much for having me, Jade. I'm feeling excellent tonight, and I'm a little bit just appalled and just surprised at the story you just relayed.
How about you, Mama Candace? What you got to say?
Well, y'all know me. I always go a little, but my thing with it is it's a private thing. It shouldn't be something that you got to be careful recording yourself. It should be private. Let's just start there. But when you're in the limelight, right, and you choose to do such a thing, like you said, you have to be clear that it puts a lot of young girls, beautiful young Black girls, in harm's way for them to have the thought that this is the persona of how you get out of life what you want. And for me, I do agree. I'm gonna play devil's advocate. You shouldn't be spending time with men who have nothing to offer. Sorry, point hands down. She's not wrong. I think there's some misguided things in what she's saying and doing, and then you have a lot of young ladies who grow up into women who walk through so much trauma and so much sexual abuse or have even been exposed to it, right? Maybe it didn't happen directly to them, but then they come up with this mentality of, I'm going to get before I let somebody just take. So I disagree with the message and how it's being sent out there, but I do not disagree with the part where you're spending your time interested in a young man who's interested in you. As women, we have so much responsibility on us. Once you become pregnant and you're dealing with somebody who's already used to not giving to you, what's the difference once you have that child with that person? So as women, we have to be very smart when we're interacting, with our men, and we have to let them know, we have to raise the bar. If you're going to spend time with us, that's our time that we could be using to manifest our prosperity. Why? Because we become mothers, and mothers end up what? Raising the children. And if we're raising children without the help of the man, I'm saying without the help. Now, I'm a single mom, but I don't walk around saying, oh, I can do this all on my own. I don't need a man. I don't have that mentality. The mentality I have is, I'm not going to force someone to do what they're not willing to do in my child's life. I'm going to stay open to the Most High to send me angels that's going to help me raise my child. So that's the mentality I take. But as far as what's going on, I think is really sad because it's a mixed message, and it's very misleading with the sexual undertones. It's really horrible. And to vomit and then, oh God, whew, that's a wild night, and it should not be public.
It's a different level. What you think, Madam President?
I agree a lot with Candace, and I believe that it's unacceptable. See, I think that Black women, us being the highest educated and the least compensated, who they allow to constantly be showcased when it comes to Black women, it's constantly being highlighted in how we're treated outside of these spaces. So this kind of behavior, it's counterproductive to what we're trying to do and what we're trying to get to. So you got all these Black women who's fighting one realm of white supremacy. Then you have another set of Black women that's saying, y'all hoes with self-respect, just don't get it. And if you ain't getting money and you ain't getting nothing. And it's all a form of abuse, because it's something I just want to highlight is there is no such thing as a hoe 1K. There are no women who are old at hoeing that is getting anything at an old age. A lot of times they say, which I don't agree with, but they act like women age and men don't. But the reality is we live in a male dominated world. So if you live in a male dominated world, Black women now always at the very end of a totem pole when it comes to economics, when it comes to school systems, education and access and funding. Black women, the highest educated, least compensated. The issue becomes, well, what do we stand for? We have got to come to terms that we can't stand for everything. We have got to come to terms that, look, if you want to highlight, hoeing, if you want to finesse anything, that's your prerogative, but I can't stand with it because I'm fighting for something completely different. I'm for something completely different. I want a family-oriented household. I want a community. I don't want to be over sexualized no matter what. I don't want to walk into a boardroom trying to have a conversation and men automatically think I'm supposed to have my titties out. That is a problem. And if you constantly showcasing and highlighting sex and not highlighting intellect and intelligence and the ability to showcase, hey, I belong here, then we are doing counterproductive things. So that's why I do not agree with the OnlyFans. I don't agree with anything that pretty much is counterproductive to the progression of the Black woman, because it does not get us further. It brings us further. It takes us further away from our common goal of, just excelling in this country. If we're going to finesse anything, we should be finessing white supremacy. We shouldn't be like showcasing sexual acts on camera, throwing up. And this is what I think is completely BS. If you wanted to get a job at Apple, right? If you had a video like that going around and you trying to be a sales associate at Apple, the first thing that Apple would do is say, I don't want to be associated. You can't work here. You can.
They will run your background, right? They're going to vet your social media, they're going to do all of that stuff, right?
Work here. You don't represent what our company stands for. But it's something about being Black in this country, being like where a Black woman can basically, when they selling you something, they don't care what you represent. When they selling you something, they like, oh yeah, Black women like this. Yeah, we're going to give her a deal. We're going to sign her a deal. And then they won't sign anybody else who's not having sex on camera. That's where we become problematic. It's too much of the hoism going on and not enough of the growism going on.
Okay.
Facts upon facts. Listen, we are tuned into FlyNubianQueen.com, the network for melanated women and men like you. Make sure you take a moment. Let's get this message out, y'all. Let's counter the anti-Black rhetoric and stereotypes and portrayals of Black women that are being exploited, by the way. Like, listen, our sister Suki Hana is a victim of racism and white supremacy, right? She is being exploited by the internet, by her so-called fans and everyone else. And so I know our sister Queen Candace has some things that she might want to add in about how we actually act out our trauma sometimes from childhood and adulthood, and like what the spiritual implications are for that. But as we get into this conversation, we want you to take a moment to like and share this broadcast. What do you say about that, Candace? Like, is Suki acting out her possibly childhood traumas, or is this what we're seeing with these trends? Because somehow, people think that sex work, prostitution, these sexual quid pro quos, and this what I would call, and I am judging, by the way, I'm clear that I am judging, I call it sexual exploitation as opposed to women's empowerment. But do you think any of this at all is somehow connected to some of the traumas that we as women face in childhood?
I think women and men, but what I really, and it's not fair to say that this is definitely her childhood. I want to be clear that I'm not saying this was definitely her childhood experience, but it looks like it, okay? And the fact that she regurgitated during the act, she could have had too much to drink, but also it might not have been settling for her to actually perform that. To sit and perform that act, because a lot of people, okay, when we throw up, that is a violent reaction to what's happening in your world. So there's a book I studied that's called You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay. And that's a great book because it tells you, it goes through all the different things that you go through in your body and what the emotional causes are. And one of the things about throwing up is a violent reaction to what's going on in your world. People do not know how harsh the world is that she's in. People do not understand it. And thank goodness I've had a leg in. So that way I can see it from different angles.
without just assuming that this is just her choice. And I'm not saying she's not choosing, but what I am saying is we do not know behind closed door what's going on. We don't know if they're slipping them something. We don't know if they're threatening them, or you won't go this far if you don't create some type of talk around your name. We don't know literally what's going on in her world. It's not giving her an excuse. I totally agree that this is unacceptable. I just want to try to look at it from for me, I know as a people, we have not dealt with none of the traumas that we've endured. None of them. Like, we just haven't. And until we do, we're going to continue to kind of be at odds with each other. But I just want to make sure that we all send prayers out to her, that she gets the right guidance, that somebody comes along and pick her up and say, sweetheart, this is not the way. Pray that she has an open mind and an open heart and open ears to receive that. And pray that the people that's around her that's wicked and putting her in these positions, not that she's not her own person, but I'm telling you, that world for women is very harsh. It's very hard for them to take their talent and present their talent and let that speak for them. And we know it because you just have to go back. And then you have some women who made it through and pushed, but it takes a lot to actually rise above what that industry expects of, especially Black women. I'm telling you. So I personally send prayers to her. I mean, I would love to reprimand her in the most motherly way possible because I want to see her rise above it. That's why I would try to figure out, well, how can I reach her? And that's what when I speak, that's what I think of. How can I reach this person and help them see the error of their ways and see that it's going to bring you more harm and not good, like you were saying, Madam President. And like you said as well, Jade, and how it puts young Black women out there like that. And don't get me wrong, I'm a firm believer that we have to think and put the right energy around us when we go out in the world. Nothing can come to us that we don't attract. And I know that sounds strange, which is why they throw these images at us, because we have to have our minds filled with people having the power to harm us in order for it to actually become a reality. They know that. So here we are having this discussion. Let's just figure out how we can help and let the women out there know, no, you shouldn't be spending time with no man that don't have nothing to offer you. Sorry, point blank, period. But it's not a trade. It's not a trade, fellatio and all of that for a man to give to you. It should be because he wants. My grandfather said, if a man is coming around you and he's not trying to help you, he's not asking you, what can I do to help? Even if he don't have a lot of money, he said, well, can I at least pay your electric bill? Can I help you with this? He said, if he's not doing that, he's not there for you. He's there for himself. I live by that.
Absolutely. You want to add, Madam President? And then I wanted to read the Copyright Act, just by the way.
Oh, okay. I just agree with Candace 110%. And I also wanted to add to this because childhood trauma is true. I think psychologists says your first sexual encounter will follow you forever. So a lot of times what we have lack of sex education in the Black community. People don't want to talk about sex. We all come from, a sexual encounter. We were born from it, but our parents don't sit us down and talk to us about it. And then nobody waits to marriage to have sex. But then for some reason in our community, they like, oh, you having sex and you having babies. We need to stop turning a blind eye to sex in our community. We need to talk about healthy sex and what it looks like and what it feels like and what love is and what it looks like. That way we don't have little girls on camera having sex and they think that it's some type of empowering act. There is nothing empowering about this act. Everybody, and then let me tell you how mindless you can be with sex. You can be completely mindless. That's why there is nothing attached to it where it has to be cameras and showcase. You don't need anything to have sex but a body. People have sex with corpses when they're out of their mind. So there's no attraction to that in reality. Also, I just want to say too that, once we start having those conversations of what, the beauty of what love could be and what is showcased as, we don't even have to come into these encounters. It'll be frowned upon more. And the concept of get money, do anything to get money is what got our ancestors over here. So we got to reject the concept of anything for money. You do not do anything for money. That's why your ancestors were sold on auction blocks, because somebody was willing to do anything for money. I'm sorry, but that's one of the things that we have to stop in our communities to truly improve you, because if you'll do anything for money, you'll find yourself doing everything for it.
Right. Excellent.
Thank you so much. Yes, we're tuned in to flynubianqueen.com. Make sure y'all hit the like button and hit the share button. Make sure you subscribe to this broadcast. Also, make sure you text the word Queens to 31996. That's Queens with an S to 31996. Thank you for the chat for putting that in. Also, if you want to join our team, please send an email over to producer@flynubianmedia.com. That's producer@flynubianmedia.com. So there were a couple blogs, that have this woman's name trending. You can actually go over to Suki Hana's Instagram page, yes, but then also you can go over to her Twitter page, and some of the clips from that video that went viral on OnlyFans, right, that I described earlier. I don't want to have to re-describe it again. You can see clips of that on her Twitter. I'm not promoting her Twitter, so I'm not dropping that, into the chat or anything, but it's just something to be aware of, right? Twitter is public. Her Twitter is public. So a kid could easily Google her name, look her up, go over to her Twitter and scroll down her timeline and see things that you as a parent would not want them to see. I'm grown. I'm 36 years old. I didn't need to see all that, right? But I think what I find even more disturbing is some of the commentary and some of the rhetoric that Suki Hana puts out and like what's being promoted. And so we can take like the last 10 minutes, because we're gonna wrap pretty soon, to kind of get into that. But before we go over to her Instagram page, I do need to read the copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowances made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. All right, and so what I am going to do right now is I am going to share my screen. I cited the Fair Use Act. This is also public. This is Suki Hana's Instagram page. And as I'm showing this, we welcome you all to hit the like button and make sure you subscribe to us. Hit that notification bell. All right. This is Suki Hana's IG page, right? And so you see the image of her, I guess you would call it spread eagle, sucking her thumb. Okay. All right. Now, these are some of her videos, but after she dropped that viral video that I described, that we have been talking about and referencing, that was on OnlyFans, she also put this out on IG Live. All right. Now, this is what I want to do. I want to say that there's a lot of profanity in this, and we're showing this for commentary purposes. We just read the copyright disclaimer, but if you don't like cursing, if you don't want to see this particular part, you don't want to hear this stuff, it could be offensive, and definitely this is not child appropriate. But here we go.
What was the morals when you out there fucking multiple niggas for free? What morals did you have? Because I thought that was not having self-respect. If you gonna let a nigga use you up and you ain't gonna put no tax on yourself, I thought self-respect is when you know your worth and you tax niggas. I didn't think that was prostitution. I thought that was self-respect. I thought after you fucking nigga or you fucking with a nigga, he supposed to be helping you. I didn't know he was supposed to take. I didn't know you was supposed to be cooking, spending your time, spending your conversation, giving him your company, let him come up in your fucking house and not contribute. I thought that was no self-respect. I thought you was supposed to make a nigga pay his motherfucking way. Yeah, I thought that was morals. I thought making a nigga show you that you worthy was morals. I thought a man whining and dining you and doing things for you was having morals. What the fuck? Y'all getting being independent mixed up, bitch, because I'm independent as a bitch. I'm independent. I don't need no nigga for nothing. But I think y'all getting it mixed up. I think y'all think just because you could pay your own bills, you ain't supposed to ask somebody help. Like I thought. So what y'all doing is y'all fucking niggas. Y'all giving that pussy out. Y'all sucking dick, fucking licking assholes all the time. I don't know what you do, sis. But you're saying because you independent, you don't want nobody to help you. So you sucking and fucking niggas, and then you go home and pay your own bills? Who said what? Hold up, cause I'm trying to add.
So I think we get the point, right? So the question of the day, and we would like to hear from y'all in the chat as well. Listen, is Sukihana or are Sukihana and thought culture harmful or helpful to Black women?
Is that a question to us or the
I mean, it's just to the whole universe. I'm asking the ancestors. I'm asking the queens in the round table. I'm asking the chat.
I think it was her delivery. You know, I think had one of us said the same thing without all the cussing and all the fussing, you know, if I had to sit down with one of my, because I have, you know, my goddaughter is, I'm not going to tell y'all her age because then I'm going to tell you mine, but she's a grown woman. And I do make it clear, if you're going to spend time with a young man, you don't want him to just take up your time. Because one thing about us as women, we offer so much to men. You know, from our words, we inspire them, we comfort them, we offer them the feeling of safety. It's something about our presence as women that's very protective. And when we mate with a man, we are actually, if you're in the right space, that's a form of protection too. It's like we are allowing them into our world, so to speak. So I don't necessarily think she was wrong, especially if she's talking to a group of young women who are sleeping around, because, you know, you got a lot of young women, a lot of young ladies, men too, are just sleeping around today. There's no foundation, no comprehension and understanding of, like Madam President said, Chanel. She said, you know, it's like, they're just sleeping around, no thought of family, no thought of a foundation. And I'm not saying that as women, we have to go there. I'm teaching my daughter, build your empire. Focus on what you want to do to bring in your fortune, your prosperity. Why? Because in the end, if she ends up with someone, if she ends up with child, naturally, we're going to make sure that that child is provided for. Naturally. With men, sometimes they have a little selfish tendency. I said sometimes. There are many men out there who are excellent fathers, wonderful, doing wonderful things. However, it's a lot that do not have guidance, that do not understand that when you lay with a woman, there's a 99% chance that she may end up with child. So you shouldn't lay with a woman you're not willing to raise a child with, even if it's just a one night stand. You got to get to know the woman, because this may end up being an 18-year situation. So I don't think she's wrong. I just think the delivery was horrible and there's no real guidance for what she's saying. It's no foundation, I guess, is what I want to say. But I don't disagree, because you just shouldn't do that as a woman. You should not give of yourself without receiving. That's just how I see it. And that's with everything. And I don't mean give and take, give, I'm gonna give you this, then you give me that. I don't mean it like that, but it's just a natural thing. Like you marry somebody, same thing. Like I didn't pay bills when I was married. Oh, I was married before? Yes, I was. I did not pay not one bill. And I was thriving at, you know, really bringing in income, but I wouldn't let him look in my pockets. You're not going to look in my pockets and then if you live with somebody and y'all splitting the bills, that's your roommate. That ain't your husband. That's a roommate. Unless y'all building a business together and y'all have this set time where, you know, I'll help you with this, you'll help me with this because we're building this situation. That's different. But I'm telling you, all that splitting bills down the middle, no, let a man be a man. Let him do what he's supposed to do. Give him time, though. If he need a little time, don't marry him until you can get it together. I'm just saying. You're supposed to have that check. You're supposed to say, here, baby.
Madam President, I know you got to wrap. You got to wrap soon. So I wanted to make sure.
Yes. Well, the one thing is, Candace, I think that was funny that you said. But the Right. But the one thing that I do think that I think that the behavior is harmful to Black women because we cannot. Okay, so here's the thing. They say we only use a very small percentage of our mind, right? If she's making that kind of money using her vagina, imagine the money she makes using her brain, using her mind. You know, the ability that's really there. You know, if I'm using my body to make sales, imagine what happens when I start using my brain.
Yes.
Or my mind. So I personally feel like it's a disservice because, you know, it's fun and it's nice for Instagram, but if your daughter is a junior in high school, that kind of behavior just kind of leaves her in a very pregnant situation, leaves her in an ignorant situation, because a lot of times we don't, after, you know, teenagers engage in sexual activity that they have no knowledge about, typically the repercussion is a child that they can't raise. And then the grandmother is mad because the grandmama feels like, well, what am I gonna do with another child that I can't afford? So we don't have like this long-term rooted thinking when it comes to truly building family goals and wealth attached to it. So we cannot afford, especially, you know, in the kind of world that we live in, we can't afford, I believe, we can't afford that kind of behavior. We can't afford for more women to attach themselves to that kind of thinking, because that kind of thinking really doesn't have a lot of positive results. And I always say sex sells, but STDs are free. You know, we like to act like you can be over-sexualized and there's no repercussion behind it. Typically, a lot of times when you find women who's a lot, you know, having a lot of sex, there's a lot of negative repercussions behind it. Same things for men. I think men, of course, in the society that we live in, they get away with, you know, being hoes more than women do, and it doesn't change. I feel like when people should put the pressure on men too, as well, you know, to be upstanding, to be decent, to be of good character. But the last thing I will say is, you know, women, when you think about the freedom and women, what women were fighting for, right? You don't think that women were not fighting for people to have sex on camera. You know, women, the women's suffrage movement, marching in DC, women going all the way in this country, fighting for equal rights, equal pay, fighting to vote. Nobody should be fighting to suck anything on camera. It is a disservice. It is completely harmful. It is harmful to the culture. And let me tell you, it's whack, because Kim Kardashian, she played them. Let me tell you how Kim Kardashian played the Black community. Kim Kardashian, you had sex on camera. America gave her millions on top of millions on top of millions. But when a Black girl do it, Lawrence Fishburne's daughter, she tried to do it. America gave her nothing. And if you find a Black person who does it on camera, look at little Kim. She didn't last long. You know, her reign ended. So the thing is, you can use the sex all you want to. It dries up, it gets old, and it does not bring you a life of longevity. I don't recommend it. I don't recommend it. I just don't.
But look, y'all, look, this is why these Queens Roundtables are so important. Y'all are tuned into flynubianqueen.com. Make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube, Facebook, and iTunes. Now, sis, Madam President, I know you have to log off. My perspective on this, in addition,
we're waiting to hear yours. We're waiting to hear yours.
I'm not negating anything that was said. I see comments in the chat, like people do agree that Suki Hana is right and that her delivery was wrong. That seems to be a popular comment. And a lot of, it's a lot of queens in the chat who are like, yes, men are supposed to be the providers, right? But I also understand that not every Black woman is in a relationship with a Black man or with a man in general, right? So but look at this, right? In my personal experience, I have been either abstinent or celibate, right? And the expectation that I have around masculine energy that comes into my space, whether we're in a conversation with friends, we're spending time together, or whatever it is, dating, is that you are going to provide. Like, you are going to be an alpha male, you're going to be a provider, a protector, and that's just non-negotiable, right? And so by me putting that out there and having that expectation and knowing what I bring to the table with my divine feminine energy, it naturally, the universe naturally conspires to have that happen. And also, I think the issue with that said, the issue that I'm having with this thought rhetoric and this thought culture is that that the expectation is that women give sex, and Black women are being coached in this, give sex in exchange for monetary benefits or, you know, resources or tangible things. Well, a man should be doing that anyway, whether I'm having sex with him or not. And therefore, it elevates the conversation. It says like, yo, you want to talk about self-worth and self-respect? How about I can step into a space and by the virtue of me being the queen that I am, or a queen being who she is, automatically is being protected and provided for. She doesn't have to even open up her legs, open up her mouth, let alone open up her legs. That's the conversation that I would like for us to coach the young queens and children into. But I wanted to bring that up. And Madam President, I'll give you the final word for now if you have to dip out. And, you know, Queen Candace, we can continue on with this. And I see people are also in the chat.
Absolutely. I just want to say thank you so much, Jade and Candace, for allowing me to be a part of this conversation. I am for all Black women, you know, whatever your economic standards, whatever your economic status is, your education status is, we all hold value. But I just do not think, and I will never get on the side where when we operating on our lowest form of self as some form of high regard. When I'm operating at a low vibration, it's usually it's a negative outcome. So I just don't recommend that. I love y'all. Peace out. I enjoy being with you all. And to Black women everywhere, keep hope alive.
We love you too, Goddess. Thanks for being here with us. Yeah.
All right. Queen, listen,
yes.
a long time since we had a good old conversation. Y'all know who Queen Candace is. The big sister right here on Fly Nubian Queen. So what else you got to say? What you think? What you think?
Listen, only thing I wanted to add, we talked a little bit about sex energy and what I think is really, it's under attack. You know, we don't know the truth about sex energy, which is creative energy. So I'm an artist, you know, I paint, I draw, I do hair, I write songs. All of that is born through sex energy. The architects build these, you know, these homes are built and designed, it's all through sex energy, right? So you find that people who are more creative, right? It's not, the sex energy is heightened in them. I'm saying when they're with someone, it's very passionate, okay? But you're a lot more creative in other ways when you understand that energy. Some of our growth is stunted. Some of our abilities to create is stunted if we were sexual abuse, if we walk through things like that. It's also hard to receive, right? Because if someone is stealing from you sexually, they're stealing your sex energy, your ability to create, your ability to harness energy, right? So that you can manifest things in your world, create things in your world. And so what happens is you'll find yourself in positions where you're always giving, right? Never allowing yourself to receive. And I'm talking about whether it's financially, whether it's just a hug, you'll find yourself wanting to be the giver more than the receiver. And part of that is because you don't know how to keep for yourself. You don't know how to take in, you know, what you're blessed to have and use that for yourself. And part of that comes from sexual abuse. It's called sexual abuse, not just because of the physical act that is sadly thrusted upon someone. It is also because you are abusing that energy. And what happens is if no one helps you deal with it, no one helps you even understand sex, that becomes, you end up festering negative thoughts about sex, right? So then that invades your ability to create. And I know it sounds so far-fetched, but if you start thinking about it, when you're listening to music and you're happy, you're in a zone, you're like creating, it's pleasure. It's very pleasurable to create something, no matter what it is. It's very pleasurable. So I say all that to say, this is by design, keeping us thinking low about sex itself, not understanding it as energy, and that we can use that energy to manifest just about anything we want to experience in our lives. So she doesn't have an understanding beyond the physical act of sex. So yeah, she's kind of relating that to receiving. When I say I agree with her, I'm basically saying that you shouldn't be putting in time with a young man or multiple men if you haven't put in time with yourself.
Agreed. That's just basic law of reciprocity. You gotta pour self-love into yourself before you will be loved or be able to even pour love into anyone else.
Yep. And then receiving won't be an issue. You know, like you said, just your spirit commands, you know, what you deserve. It doesn't come from you laying with someone. And the only thing that I must say, though, we are dealing with young people who may not have, who may not be able to receive it in a polished way. So what her delivery needs something added to it if you want to guide young people with it. But you got to understand, young people sleep around all the time. They're not thinking about their time. They're not thinking about, you know, I'm being intimate with this man and he's not even offering me anything. Not because I was intimate with him. You know what I'm saying? I'm actually going this far with this man and we haven't even talked about the things I like in life. Like my first date, when I start dating again, because I'm like, you know, I'm single. My first date is going to be at an open house.
I know that's right. Look, that's right. Yes,
Let's go to this open house.
The power of manifestation is so real. And let me tell y'all this, right? This is, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe button. We're having a grown women conversation tonight, and as young women get, you know, are of age, college students or, you know, young adults, you need to hear this, because I would hate for people to get misguided by the rhetoric that we played earlier in this broadcast on this roundtable, to think that this is how, you know, the law of reciprocity works. It's like I open up my legs and then you give me.
Right. Yeah.
Nah.
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you the flip side of what manifestation can do, because literally when I study media, right? So this woman's name, Suki Hana's name, was trending last night. Y'all make sure you hit the like button and make sure you text the word Queens to 31996. It's trending, and then I saw it because I guess I was a couple days late. I don't know. I don't follow stuff. I'm not on OnlyFans. I didn't even know what OnlyFans was until recently. But anyway, so I said, okay, I Googled it. I saw a blog. I was like, oh my goodness, she did what? Then I looked on her Twitter page and I was like, wow. So this is what's out there to the public. And again, my job, my commitment to the universe is to counter anti-Black racism and white supremacy in media, politics, and education. So I'm a vanguard of our children, right? And of our culture, but definitely of our young people. So I'm like, dang, that's why I go so hard on like things like cuties and pedophilia and all of this stuff. So I looked at it and I remembered a roundtable that I did with a sister who also studied under Queen Afua, named Alchemist. And we were talking about the succubus energy, which is a demon, a mythological character as well, of the female spirit that comes in and seduces men and takes their spirit during sexual activity. If anyone watches Red Country, there's an example of that in that series. And then on the flip side of it is the succubus or succubi or whatever, the Latin conjugation for the male form of that. The male form of that demon comes into a woman's dreams, seduces her, may even get her pregnant or rape her or whatever, because it's that energy is like sucking your life force out of you. That is what I saw and thought about immediately when I saw the Suki Hana situation. Then I saw her rhetoric and her talking about all this thought culture stuff and what self-respect is or isn't. Now this. So I go on last night, I look up Wikipedia and I refresh my mind, because I am a nerd, on the succubus and the succubid, the succubi, whatever, these demons, sexual demons. What happened? What did I manifest today? Well, today I'm doing my work out in the world, handling the business, everything's cool. I go to the park. I'm having a conversation with my cousin. I'm on the phone with her. I'm sitting there. There's an old man, probably about 100 feet in front of me, that automatically pulls out his penis and starts masturbating. Because why? Because in my mind, I exuded so much energy on this whole Suki Hana thing. I went down a rabbit hole. I looked up these little sexual demons and all of this stuff. And I'm like, oh my gosh, we got to counter this. We got to protect our Black kids and X, Y, and Z. The energy that I put into it and had around it manifested an old ass man who had to be, let's say the threat in the park had to be neutralized, and he had to get up out of there for doing something sexually deviant. And so what I'm saying is, if that's an example of what our Queen Candace is talking about in terms of the power of manifestation. What if we can manifest good things and have a healthy sexual relationship with ourselves and with other people, or just in general? What would our children come out like? You know what I'm saying? How could we heal generations of trauma in that by doing that? But as long as we're vibrating on this low vibration stuff, like what's being put out there, like what we're talking about today, this whole giving fellatio, vomiting, and doing all of this stuff, getting all this attention, what is that actually creating in the world, in the universe, and in our day-to-day lives?
That was beautiful.
That was like my little therapy session, because when we met earlier, I was like, oh, I just came from the park, and you know what I'm saying? He had to get his ass up out of there, and I recorded part of it, but I was like, no, I don't have to necessarily put this out there because I'm not promoting that. You know what I'm saying? We saw a sexual deviant, we got his ass up out of there, but I'm like, yo, I gotta fast, I gotta do this, I gotta do that, I have to protect my energy. And in terms of what I'm letting into my spiritual space. And listen, the warfare is real. This anti-Black racist agenda and white supremacy is real. The entertainment company and the radio waves, the internet, they promote these things. And then a lot of low vibration individuals give it attention, and it creates outcomes in the real world that we're not making the connections to, which is why having these sorts of conversations are so important. Queen, I'm turning it over to you.
No, I don't know what more to say after that. I think that was a great icing on the cake, even down to studying certain subjects and how it pulled that energy in your direction, but yet you were still protected because your intention on studying it was so that you could protect. So I'm grateful that you were safe and that the right people were around you to help you to remove that energy. That's not, I mean, I've seen that. I've had that happen.
Right. Like people just out there beating at me. It's like, really, you can get your ass beat out here, sir. You know what I'm saying?
This man, it was an older man, did the same thing. But my client, I mean, not my client, she was my assistant at the time. She took hot water and just threw it. So he was on about his business. I don't think it got on him, but he knew to back up after that. It does happen.
What do you think what do you think that this viral video, let's take it like this, and y'all hit that like button, because now we're getting into a metaphysical conversation. Queen Candace, I know I can have this conversation with you, right? Look, if she did that act that I was described earlier, and let's say, at least we know for a fact, at least 1 million people saw it, right? At least 1 million people saw it, right? On a really low vibration. How do you think that impacts those individuals and what's being put out there in the ether?
There's no love in that conversation. Where I did agree with some of the things she said, because young people, if you're going to sleep around, please at least don't waste your time like that. Please. I'm not saying sleep around for money, but at least spend time with somebody who's willing to look out for you. However, the issue with that was that there was no love in that conversation, and you can hear all the hurt and all the pain in her voice when she was speaking. Some people will relate to what she said as strength, right? Oh yeah, she's saying don't let no nigga get over on you, excuse my language, family. That's the way people talk. But don't let somebody get over on you, blah, 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 blah. But who can get over on you if you for yourself, if you love yourself? You will only attract people who love you and who will support you because you're loving yourself. So clearly there is abuse going on in her mind maybe that she's experienced years ago, and she has to, before someone can hurt her and ever use her again, she wants to manipulate the energy around her. She just doesn't know it doesn't have to be that way. It has to start with her loving herself, looking herself in the mirror, in the eye, and saying, hey, I do want to get out here and I do want my name to be big, but I need to figure out how to set a more positive message. And the only way to do that is to love yourself. But who's telling her that? And then the fact that she has the power to reach millions of people is really sad, because it tells you that the industry, that world that she's a part of, that she's in it. She's in it. And they're using media and social media and everything to manipulate us into not love, into thinking that love itself is weak.
Yes. And listen, to add on to your point, Sister Tasha Swanson in the chat brings up a good point, and I forgot to mention this. And yes, sis, you are right. Suki Hana is the same one. This is Natasha's comment. She's the same one that said she sold her soul to the devil to be in the industry. She literally did, I think she did a video or something about that, like crying and like all frantic, saying she literally sold her soul to the devil.
Yeah.
Like she sold her soul to be a part of the industry. And I know, you know, that goes along with what you were saying. And so that hurt, that pain, that trauma and stuff was definitely present when we're hearing her speak. You know what I'm saying? But I will tell you something else to juxtapose this situation with my situation from this evening. Look, I went off. I ran him off. There was a sister who was near me. I was like, sis, hold on for a second. He's doing X, Y, and Z. I ran him off, and then he went another way. He went in an area where there were more children. So I went that way to look at him. And then I let everybody know. And I ran into, look at God, a friend of mine who happened to be randomly in the park, and some other Black women were in the park. And then we got on code and we neutralized the threat. And also that triggered up a lot of, you know, our own trauma. You know what I'm saying? Like one of the sisters was like, nah, my child, my little boy is out here. He 8 years old. You're not about to bring that stuff around here. It's like, that's just this Haitian, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, whatever. But again, this stuff is triggering. It brings like the vibration of the way sex and perversion is out there. It just brings up so much icky, nasty stuff in all of us. And quite frankly, some people like it. Some people are desensitized to it, or they don't necessarily see it as an issue. But hey, I mean, to some people, it could be entertainment. And then to other folks, it could be triggering on a whole different level.
Yeah. Yep. I definitely bless us to do some journaling. You know, that's what helped me, because I walked through a very rough childhood. What I love, though, is how much guidance has come to me over the years. I have one really, really good friend. He's still a very good friend, who has helped me tremendously to deal with trauma and understanding that, you know, so I'm gonna just use the word devil and I'm gonna spell it, right? DEVIL, right? But then you spell lived, LIVED, right? It's the same word, it's just backwards, right? So why is that important? Because lived, you know, what we lived can become an impediment to how we live moving forward. That's what makes it devil, right? Because now your past, you're keeping it alive by holding on to the trauma, not being able to rise above what actually happened and recognize that it has never touched the real you, right? What your body is trying to tell you is, I need you to now pay me the attention that you chose not to pay me because someone was hurting it. Someone was teaching you that it's dirty or that it's not perfect and pure and beautiful. I need you to now look at me. How the body starts to do that? Well, certain diseases and ailments start to pop up in your life. And it's because your body is saying, hey, what about me? I know that we went through this experience, right? But at some point, you have to become a parent to your body, right? You have to now treat your body like it's a 2-year-old. And you have to say, hey, I'm sorry all those things happened to you, but I got you now. I am no longer going to allow anyone or anything bring harm to you. And I'm not going to be afraid. We're not going to walk in fear, because when you walk in love, people hear the quote, perfect love casts out all fear. But no one asks, well, what's perfect love? What is perfect love? You got love, but what's perfect love? And I'm here to tell you, perfect love is self-love. Because if you love yourself, right, now you're tapping into God. You got to go within to find yourself to love it. And God is there too. Y'all are one. Mm-hmm. So when you love yourself, right, the love starts to, I don't know, it's just an energy that is the biggest energy that I know is love. Mm-hmm. And had I not been introduced to that energy, had I not had a friend come along and talk to me, and it was just it's the strangest, most beautiful thing. Like one of the books he told me, read Science of Mind, and that's by Ernest Holmes. Thinking of Destiny, you got to read this book. And these are books that are 1,000 pages. You know, I did not know I was going on this journey within, but that's what's missing in Suki's language is love. What you're hearing is pain, and the industry is always going to sell pain and trauma and tell you this is life. That love stuff, that's fake. That's not real. Who's happy in the world? Why would you want to tell that story? That's not going to get a million likes. If you tell people you're happy, if you tell people that you love yourself, that's fake. Now that's fake news, right? Loving yourself. Go ahead, I'm listening.
No, I'm going to share another video from her IG, and I want to welcome and thank everyone who's in the chat right now. We want to thank everyone for hitting the like button and for subscribing to flynubianqueen.com. Also, make sure you visit our shop at shopfnq.com. That's shopfnq.com. And we have programming. Y'all want to talk about independent women and all that good stuff, right? We can become independent queens out here when we get our money right, when we invest in Black businesses, we build Black businesses, and we, you know, make our money work for us as opposed to us working for it. So we invite you to visit flynubianmoney.com, as flynubianmoney.com, and flynubianbusiness.com. I'm gonna share my video, my screen right quick, sis, and I want to share something with you. This is a much shorter clip, not as vulgar, but I want to see what you say. So you were talking about an absence of self-love, and I just wanted to get your opinion on this particular one right here. This is from Suki Hana.
This is what you do.
Sorry, I don't know why I hear music in the background. That's not supposed to happen. So let me exit that out. We ain't doing that today.
That's right.
If there's something else playing that I'm not aware of, I exited out, whatchamacallit. So let's try this one again. Well, we'll do this one and let's see. There shouldn't be anything playing here. All right, here's a video of her.
Yeah, bitch. You hoes can't fuck with me, and that's why you're mad. You bitches don't count. I'm the one that count. I'm the one on the blogs. I'm the one on the news. I'm the one they speak about, not you, hoe. Look, Bubbles, go back to your avatar and go watch that Dookie shooter, hoe. Toodles.
Right? One more time.
Yeah, bitch. You hoes can't fuck with me, and that's why you're mad. You bitches don't count. I'm the one that count. I'm the one on the blogs. I'm the one on the news. I'm the one they speak about, not you, hoe. Look, Bubbles, go back to your avatar and go watch that Dookie shooter, hoe. Toodles.
So, right, like, we have to, this is my concern. And listen, we're having a conversation about Suki Hana, but I am having this conversation from a place of love and out of concern. And it's for her healing, right, and safety as well. Because again, I believe that she's a victim of being exploited, and she's a victim of anti-Black racism and white supremacy, right? Portraying all these caricatures and stuff. But I'm a vanguard for our future, which is our young people. So we're talking about her, but I'm really talking about what needs to be done, what needs to shift to ensure that we are raising young Black girls and young Black boys that will grow up to be strong Black women, queens, and strong Black men, kings. what do we think needs to shift here in terms of the conversation around self-love?
Yeah,
That's in the chat, but Queen Candace,
yeah.
I would like to know what if you can comment on that, or just on for what you saw. You bees can't mess with me. You ain't nothing compared to me. Everyone is giving me attention. The blogs are talking about me. It's all about me, and you can't hold a candle to me.
Yeah, that's industry talk, because that's one of the things that we're taught, and that's what's the word? Female artists especially, it's a highly competitive world for them. And I really think, I guess I got to choose my words carefully, because I still think that they're remarkable to be dealing with all of that abuse and somehow still stand. I don't even understand how you stand after all of that abuse, and then speaking all of that abuse, and to feel comfortable saying that to your sisters. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to compete. I am the best, and you can be the best with me. Jesus said, where I am, you may also be. She didn't say that. She said, nah. I'm here and you not.
It's definitely like a us versus them thing, right? So for me, my concern is there's no nation building in that, right? Like without self-love, you can't build with nobody. You're not going to be able to build with your man, your husband, your fiance, or whatever it is, your partner, whoever that may be, whatever form that may be in, but you are not going to be conducive of nation building if there's this adversarial relationship that you have with other people. Because I would go so far as to say you have an adversarial relationship with yourself. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. The last thing we need, though, is our young Black children or young people. If you even in college, or if you're in your 20s or hell 30s, 40s, or at any point, feeling like this is okay because it's what's being promoted, and this is what people are being brainwashed into, y'all.
Yeah. And then now that's also childhood, because if you're manifesting this in adult life, then does she have siblings, and was she compared to a sibling that may have been perceived as prettier or got more attention? Because unconsciously we make a parallel universe or a parallel world to our childhood, and we're going through life constantly looking to the right, remembering things that happened and making sure it does not happen again, not understanding that the self-love is going to combat all of that. And I don't have to compete. I'm here to complete me. I don't have time to compete. I myself have to be cool with me. I have to feel successful for myself, not successful compared to, and I am one of 3 sisters in the household. And then I have other siblings who were born through my father and their amazing mothers. And so there was at times a comparison thing, right? And I don't think parents always mean to do that. But then it becomes sibling rivalry, right? And then you carry that out into the world. So if somebody, let's give you 2 examples. If one child was perceived as not as attractive, and then you got another child who was perceived as attractive, or one who was perceived as not so smart, and the other child who was perceived as very smart, then the one who was perceived as so-called attractive or super smart, whatever you want to call it, now they're dealing with a lot of energy that they shouldn't be dealing with either. Oh, you'll be all right. Everybody think you pretty. Everybody think you cute. Everybody think you're smart. The other one, well, let me give her a little extra attention because no one treated her right. But then there's all these dysfunctional behaviors that's going on between them two, and dysfunctional behaviors that's developed between them and the world, right? If nobody never sits them down and say, hey, I apologize if I made you feel like you weren't as good as. That was not my intention. I was trying to bring out the best in you, or whatever. Or I didn't always know how to tell you that you were just as smart, just as intelligent. Maybe we had to come at you from a different angle because maybe the schooling, the curriculum wasn't developed for your brain and for the way you process things. So we're not in a world where parents have time to sit down and break down why they do what they do with their kids. We're in a world where they're left with what they dealt with in their childhood, and they go out into the world, and this is how we interact with the world until we look at ourselves, till we think about all the things we've been through, forgive it, and figure out what you actually want to experience and make it happen based on that. It takes a lot to get to that point. And I never rush people to face themselves. That's a lot. It's not easy. Been there. Still do it every day now. Now I do it voluntarily.
Oh, that's right. Thank you for
Need
that.
to-
You
You're
are
welcome.
motivating so many people in this chat, Queen. Listen, make sure y'all hit the like button. Share this broadcast because we can touch, move, and inspire a lot of folks just by what Queen Candace just laid out for us. Now,
And
again,
Queen Jade.
thank you. And I'm Queen Madam
And Queen Madam. Yup, that's right.
So our sister in the chat, Natasha, again says, once I open my eyes, I realize the real war is within me. The battle is daily, so I don't have time to compete with anyone else.
Oh,
woo! That's
touching.
Look, I go through this book every so often. I've been going through it since I was in my young 20s. One day my soul just opened up. Amazing. Let me tell you, it's 40 days and 40 nights of meditations and journaling. And each day has a principle, right? And it teaches you how to honor yourself. Honor yourself with different virtues, truth, freedom, right? On how to honor others. You know what I'm saying? How to have compassion and everything like that. Really, really good. So the work is constant. It's constant. It's unending. And as we heal as Black queens, right, and kings, then we're able to raise healthier, young kings and queens, princes and princesses that will come up without all of the trauma and the things that we have gone through, or we're not inflicting trauma onto our children or other people in our lives, right? Because we haven't done our own healing work.
Right.
So there's a lot that needs to happen. There's a lot that needs to happen.
I just want to say I'm very proud of you. I think that you offer the world so much. I'm also very proud of Chanel. I thought that she gave great commentary this evening. What I feel most coming from you both is the love and passion for yourself and your people. And I think the world needs more of that if it is going to heal, and if we're going to help it to take that turn in a direction where we're more uplifted, more successful, and we're more willing to work together. Just be easy on yourself in the process. Don't think that we are here to save others. We're actually not. We are here to be an example. We're not here to be martyrs. We are here to be an example of how to move beyond trauma, how to learn to thrive, how it's okay to smile even if someone that you love is hurt. Like, of course we're going to feel it, but you have to learn how to harness all the good energy, because that's how you help pull your friends and your family out of trauma, by keeping your spirit centered and grounded, and staying focused on good and life, and I don't know, good foods, good food, that stuff that give you energy and have you ready to do anything good. Anything good.
That's right. Thank you for that. You're such a blessing and a jewel always. Like, I'm like, yes, because like,
y'all pulled me out, and I appreciate it so much. I'm so honored to be here.
Yes, thank you. We need you because you always bring a level of levity, an element of levity and balance to the conversation.
Well,
right?
Thank you.
Yeah. So thank you. We're gonna keep doing this. We're gonna have more Queens Roundtable. So make sure y'all store Queens to 31996. That's Queens 31996. Listen, we're not going to solve all of the problems of the Black community within these one roundtables or series of something. So this conversation will continue because there's a lot of work that needs to be done around this. And Queen Candace, I find it to be no coincidence that we are on the brink of, or we're definitely in an anti-Black war, right?
Yeah.
The country's on the verge of financial collapse. I wouldn't say we're in a recession. I think we're in a depression right now, my opinion. And we have this really, really disgusting, brutal presidential election in the backdrop of a global pandemic. A lot of things going on at the same damn time.
Yeah.
And we see the types of movies and media that has been projected and mass promoted out there during these times. And so a lot of this stuff is, and I have to keep myself reminded of this. And Queen Candace, you know, we talk offline, you know, as well. You support me a lot to like stay focused, because a lot of these things are just distractions. So to do X, Y, and Z, right, and make it go viral in the midst of all of the other things that we're aware of that's happening, do we also have to be mindful that what the distractions are? So I'm going to hold myself accountable and like stop giving so much of my energy into this stuff and going down a rabbit hole, and I won't have to have some crazy person in the park doing something crazy, because thoughts become things quick.
Yeah.
Very quickly.
Yeah. Especially now. But I still think that you're a huge blessing. I think it was still a great conversation because it gave us an opportunity to help, especially if there's young people who's watching, or amazing mothers who are trying to figure out, well, how do I, you know, what words of encouragement can I give my daughter? I don't want her to be used either, but I don't want her to think that that's a way to get money either. You know, so how do I find the words to inspire my daughter in the right direction when she has all the, you know, our children have access to so much that we didn't have access to when we were growing up. Yet they used a lot of programming to throw us off too. You know, them cartoons were wicked that we watched when we were children. It was wicked. Yeah. So I say all that to say, I still think, Jade, although it may have thrown you a curveball, I think your spirit was meant to bring this to the forefront. I definitely bless you to always be safe. I don't speak in vain. I know every word I send out is prosperous and that they are fulfilled. I trust that with everything that I am. So in my mind, with all the wonderful work you do in the world, you are safe. And I send it out to all the queens and the kings that's a part of this network. I think we are just all amazing, especially as a people. So I bless you to be safe in all that you're doing. I think this was good. I really do. And I'm honored and appreciate being a part of this.
Thank you. I'm going to be a mommy just like you when I grow up.
Oh.
So we'll come on again. There was going to be more.
Thank you.
I don't know what the topic, we don't know what the topics are going to be because the world is changing every hour, y'all. Right? So make sure y'all are subscribed to us. Queen Candace, you want to tell us how we can follow you, how folks can keep in contact with you?
Oh, yeah. Well, on Instagram, you can go to the Queen Goddess 619, spelled just like it is, the Queen Goddess 619. On Facebook, Color Shines, that's QOLOURSHYNES. Also, I will add the link to my amazing website with all the amazing products. I will add the link in the title once this video uploads, okay? And y'all know I have nothing but love for you. Y'all better know it.
All right, thank you. Yeah, and y'all can follow me. My YouTube page is Lioness Crowned. That's Lioness Crowned on YouTube. Also, I have a program on our YouTube page at flynubianqueentv.com, and it's at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. 12 p.m. Eastern Time, Monday through Friday, and it's called the Lioness Den. So if you have the heart and the courage of a lion or a lioness, you are welcome. You are welcome in that Black first space. So you can find me over there. And I tell people, like, look, I don't need followers, I need soldiers. So if y'all trying to get some work done, you want to communicate and share information on that level, then you can find me over on Instagram at Lioness Crowned as well. Thank you so much, Queen Candace. We'll be in touch. Thank you all, everyone who went into this Queen's Roundtable.
Peace and money.
Peace and money. Right. Peace and money and peace and blessings.
FlyNubianQueen.com, FlyNubianMoney.com, FlyNubianBusiness.com, ShopFNQ.com. Come on, Queens to 31996.
That's right. All right, sis. I'll see you soon. Love y'all.
Will do. Yep. Peace and money.